Now, this one's going to be a little bit controversial because I was actually stunned when my subby, Adrian Thomas, shout out to Adrian. Him and Julius be doing the Lord's work, in Think Tank. They actually have the bug. Y'all gonna love this one. Y'all gonna love this one. And this is from a guy I normally don't like. Okay, Jason Whitlock. Jason Whitlock is what we call them the we call them Boscos. We call them Boscos. But sometimes you got to give a brother his due when the brother deserves his due. And this is black matriarchs play a significant role in the plight of black college football coaches. And he gives a preamble, and I'm not going to read the whole preamble because it's long. And it takes quite a while to get to the meat of the information, right? So I'm just going to kind of sum it up for the first half of the article. Give you Reader's Digest verse, and he's actually talking about Derek Mason, Lovie Smith, and Kevin Sumlin, and it says 3 of its 13 black Division I head coaches. So basically, it got fired, and people are talking about racist college football stuff like that, even though, like he says, he admits that college football is racist. And he was saying that most high-profile black college footballs fail, and nobody ever asks why they fail. They just kind of let them go out and get dismissed, and nobody ever really talks about it anymore. And like I said, he says football is racist. Everyone knows that. The white men who coach it, organize it, fund it, and select the head coaches are the modern-day Calvin Candy, the fictional Mississippi slave owner in the movie Django. That's funny. But he's trying to give this ramble like after 41 years after Wichita State made Willie Jeffries the first black man to lead a Division I football program. It has yet to produce the version of like college time basketball's John Thompson and Nolan Richardson, which actually won titles. And he says he brings us all up because he spent 3 days discussing about the plight of black college football coaches. And so after going through all that, he mentions Stanford, David Shaw, and Penn State's James Franklin, and others. But he said Stanford is interesting. The school has had 3 black coaches, all of whom would have to be considered successful. Shaw, Willingham, and Denny Green, the old Minnesota Vikings coach. Willingham won 44 games at Stanford, including the 93 season in 2001 that landed him the Notre Dame job. Denny Green took over a terrible Stanford program in 1989. In his second season, he upset number 1 ranked Notre Dame. In year 3, he led the Cardinal to an 8-4 season and finished second place in the Pac-10. Then he left to become Vikings head coach. And says, this is where it gets interesting. I have a theory. Stanford isn't a football factory. It caters to rosters filled primarily with legitimate student athletes from stable family backgrounds. Stanford football is Duke basketball. The racial makeup of Stanford football team is a bit different from the typical football factory. By my rough count and estimate, Stanford's roster is 52% white, 46% black, and 2% other. It's easier for black coaches to lead teams filled with kids from nuclear families. Black kids from broken homes and or broken father relationships struggle to submit to the leadership of black head coaches. They respond better when the ultimate authority is white or female. I know that sounds crazy to some of you. I know that as a member of the media, I'm supposed to just write that white racism is the explanation for every black problem. But the reality is that insecurity and self-hatred are bigger problems for black male athletes. Wow. And he played college football. You can see it in their attraction to the Black Lives Matter movement. BLM is a cry for white love and a white solution to black problems. BLM is a plea for white daddy to save black culture. I told you, Whitlock's a Bosco, so he's a firebrand. For the last 60 days, black culture has been ruled by the matriarchy. Well, no, for the last 60 years. Got to go look back a little further than that, boss. Black culture has been ruled by the matriarchy. He's been listening to us. And a lack of respect and belief in black men. Kids raised by single mothers and single grandmothers have little regard for black male authority figures. Ho, ho, ho. Their irresponsible fathers and bitter mothers give birth to cynicism that, if left untreated, quietly haunts the child throughout adulthood. The culture of female dominance, leadership, and worship is now the default culture of black millennials. Wow. With 75% of black kids born into single-parent homes, baby mama culture, man, is he part of the manosphere? He sounds like Obsidian. And the cynicism that goes along with it have been imposed upon black kids from two-parent homes. In order to fit in order to meet Black Twitter's standard of blackness, Carlton from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air must conform to the culture of the matriarchy. Ho, 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 this is good. This is too good. In this era, the Atlanta politician Stacey Abrams would have a better chance of duplicating the Georgetown basketball dynasty than Big John Thompson. Oh, my goodness. Oh, man, he's throwing bombs. In an effort to connect with modern black athletes and win the approval of black matriarchal culture, all coaches are being forced to conceal their authentic beliefs. They all have to bow to the shrine of Black Lives Matter and express adoration for George Floyd, Jacob Blake, Eric Garner, Breonna Taylor, Michael Brown, etc. Everyone knows this bullshit. Do you think Nick Saban believes Michael Brown, who wrestled for control of a police officer's gun, was the victim of racism or the victim of bad decision making? All right. Hey, I told you he's a coon, but we're going to look past that. Do you think Saban believes criminal suspects have the right to resist arrest? It's all a charade. The athletes know it. The white coach can shed a tear or two inside a team meeting and pacify his players. But for black coaches, the charade is much more serious. Their burden of BLM proof must rise above a reasonable doubt. Team meeting tears are not enough. They must issue bold and provocative public statements to the media denouncing whatever BLM has told them to denounce. They must pretend they live in daily fear of being killed by police. They must invite Dr. Harry Edwards or a local race baiting equivalent to speak to their teams. Wow. Black coaches must prove their blackness on command. It's a burden. They just want to coach football and share the values that help them become successful. Football coaches, regardless of color, generally fit a profile. They're stubborn, conservative, disciplined, traditional, and family-oriented. David Shaw, Kevin Sumlin, Charlie Strong, James Franklin, and Herm Edwards come from similar two-parent backgrounds. Their parents were educators or members of the military or coaches. They were raised in the patriarchal culture commonplace in the 1960s and 1970s. We had to talk about that, boss, but, that being said, today's black matriarchy makes coaching more challenging for them. At Stanford, Shaw has the luxury of leading a locker room less hostile to strong black male leadership. That's my theory. Feel free to reject it. I won't be offended. Don't you be offended when I reject the assumption that white racism is totally explains the plight of black coaches. Whoa. And this has come from an admitted Bosco, okay? A self-admitted Bosco. The only person that's probably a bigger Bosco than him is probably Charles Barkley. Him and Charles Barkley probably neck and neck. But Charles Barkley would say the same thing, except Charles is more famous. But wow, when the Boscos start coming out talking about the black matriarchy or the gynocracy, he didn't use the word, but when he starts talking about the gynocracy, that tells you that we're mainstream. They're listening. They are listening. The black manosphere, are you ready for your 15 minutes of fame? So get your fresh cut. put on your nice clothes, man, because they're looking. I have to agree with him. He's probably not that far off about the hostility toward black male leadership. Even in this sector, I do feel a little bit of it. It's not as bad because the youngsters coming in here actually need to hear what you have to say, and they've heard you, so they're comfortable with your voice. But the fact that he says that black males, black millennials, and Zs are more comfortable being under the leadership of either a female or a white male, that is amazing, because it's the same stuff that we say. So I know he didn't just draw this out of the ether, man. He's been listening. So every Bosco has their day, man. You know, every clock is right twice a day, and while there's some elements that I do not like, you know, because black men getting shot down in the streets is, you know, those people were murdered, in my opinion. And I know Jason Whitlock takes the opposite tact about how these people went down. But other than that, man, he's on the money. He's on the money about the black coaches. I don't think they have to basically proclaim and follow the BLM tact, because most of the kids that come through there don't care about BLM all that much, man. They want to play ball. But he is probably right about them not being able to follow black male leadership. They're not used to seeing it, because all your authority figures, especially if you come from a single mother home, are female. All your authority figures are female, unless it's law enforcement, and most of them are white males. So basically, your physical authority figures are always white, and the rest are female. Just like he said on Candyland in Django Unchained. So there. I was just talking about this, and we're just arguing this with the guy on The Breakdown, and Concrete Rose Sister George had a guest on, and he was talking this madness like there's no such thing as a black matriarchy or gunocracy. Now people are starting to see it because of BLM and the political push. So as we said, and as Dr. Ronald Neal said, is now the black gynocracy has been exposed. And now they're on the clock. And now they can be criticized openly because they are in power. So it's already open season on the BLM and the gynocracy. So it's going to be a crazy 4 years, man. It really is. Black women have not been in the hot seat in 60 years, and now they are. It's going to be amazing. But anyway, folks. Oh, this is good. This is too good. Let me get off of here. This is BGS out, you guys, and I'll see you on the next one.